everybody. I'm Ashley Esqueda, and welcome to This Week in Android. I am here with my fabulous co-host, Mark Jeffrey.
Thank you so much, and welcome. We're glad to have you here for your first show.
I'm very excited. And we also have our Skyped-in co-hosts today, Dave Buchanan and Lane Montgomery from the Android App Show. We're having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to see the video so much. I think it's going to be sort of like we're talking to someone on the Mir space station, but we'll see.
And it'll be a little space age.
Can we cut to you guys? Can you guys hear us?
We can hear you. Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you
just fine. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay. So we'll just have to put up with the space shuttle video or whatever you want to call it.
He's a little laggy.
So okay.
All right.
So the big news this week.
Yeah. The big news is the buzz.
Big news is Google Buzz. So
huge news. What does it mean for Android? I think it's going to be one of those things that snowballs.
Well, let me show you a little quick demo here because this is kind of cool. So if you can go to our patented Android cam, I don't know if it's set up there. Okay,
the delicious Android
cam.
Okay,
so this is actually my Droid. Here, I'm going to try to hold it correctly. And the thing that's interesting about let me get. Sorry, just decided to switch on me. The thing that's interesting here is I'm hitting the nearby switch. So what I'm actually seeing, so the droid knows where I am. And what's interesting about this is it's not just a lat-long coordinate, but it uses Google's concept of places, which is a very Google specific thing. So it knows that I'm at Mahalo. It knows what Mahalo is, and it knows that next to us is, there's a Denny's and a Norm's down the street. So we're actually seeing buzzes, and they're tagged not by lat-long coordinates, but by places. And so I'm seeing them in order, basically if they're nearby me. So this is a pretty interesting example of, basically using a combination of Google Places, Android, and Buzz as, an integrated attack on the competing platforms like Facebook.
Right, and now you've got, we had discussed a little bit earlier, we've got now something so collective in terms of social networking, locations. You're going to be able to, I'm wondering if now you're going to be buzzing about something and then you're going to see somebody on the, you're going to know someone's nearby about the same thing. Is this going to be a new way to meet people and be involved in things that are happening? So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that, Google is alone in their ability to basically put all these little puzzle pieces together. Facebook doesn't have a mobile platform to the same extent. So, I'm sort of curious what our co-hosts, our Skyped-in co-hosts think.
Yeah, what do you guys?
What do you guys think about Buzz? How do you think it relates to Android?
I think it's interesting. It definitely brings together a lot of the Android a lot of the Google services into one kind of thing. It kind of what a lot of people envisioned what Google Wave was going to do. It kind of brings that more to the social aspect. More so than what Google Wave was. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the most interesting thing, at least for me, was that they kind of built it on top of the Maps platform. None of the other social networks have kind of taken that tact. Google for a long time has had the best Maps platform out there, and they're kind of building the social network on that.
Now, when you say they built it on top of the Maps platform, could you elaborate on that so everyone understands?
One of the main ways that you can interface with Buzz is by going into the new Maps 4.0 app that they released for Android.
Yep.
And you can display it as a regular layer like you would anything else, your own personal layers, but now there's the new Buzz layer. And so whenever you're viewing your area, you're going through, looking at directions or just looking at your house with the Google, satellite imagery, you'll see all the buzzes populate right around you within an undefined period of time. I don't know how they cut it off, but they show you what's going on around you in a totally new way to experience a social network.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. Is there trying to figure out how to frame this question. Is there some way you can do the same thing on the iPhone, or is it just specifically an Android specific thing right now?
Yeah, a lot of people, and this was kind of brought up too, that the iPhone is actually supported more extensively than the Android platform, and that the website buzz.google.com actually works on the full platform for the iPhone, but really the most extensive features only work on the 2.0 Android operating system. When you go back to 1.6 and 1.5, not all of the HTML5 magic is in there.
Right. Which is required for the Maps integration, correct?
I'm not sure that it's required for the Maps integration. I think it's the location finding, where it knows where you're at. Well, I guess that would be an aspect of it, though.
Well, in terms of, I'm just curious in terms of what you guys think about the future of buzz in terms of people are looking so much more to their smartphones these days that I'm curious as to how quickly, because I don't imagine it's a question of if, I'd imagine it's a question of when people are going to actually almost entirely kind of cease using PCs and Macs to do social networking. It'll almost be entirely
Do you think
done
so?
by
Do you think they'll actually get rid of their computers?
Well, I'd not get rid of them. I mean, no one's going to chuck their MacBook out a window.
I would hope not.
I mean, I sleep with mine under a pillow at night. So, but I think that in terms of social networking, like I don't see.
You think mobile social networking will become much more popular?
I think it will actually become the majority, like no longer the exception to the rule, but the rule itself. People will majority use cell phones and smartphone devices as social networking.
Now, why? Because location is that important? Is it the location?
Well, I definitely think Google Buzz is on the right track in terms of having things that are so integrated with various other platforms and having all kinds of options available to you. The location thing is also really important in terms of...
But that seems to me to be, that's the core of having a mobile device.
Absolutely.
Is that the application is aware of where you are, where everyone else is, where they've been.
Yep.
So trails and things like that.
And where they're going.
So that seems very, for things like Foursquare, for things like Gowalla, there's another, I can't remember, there's another one where you can actually buy, they have sort of, I can't remember the name of it, but they've actually already got 1 million check-ins or 1 million users. TechCrunch just announced it last week. But basically, it's sort of like Monopoly. You can become...
Oh, MyTown, I think
MyTown,
it was?
yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
MyTown.
So you basically are able to, it's very Monopoly-like. So you get to buy places and trade them and that sort of thing. So, but location, again, it's another game. It's another location game, sort of like Foursquare.
Right.
So that kind of game social networking, I think you're correct. I think for those kinds of things, you'll definitely see, I think there'll be a lot more mobile usage and probably on the Android because it's an open platform. You can do a lot more things with it. Ergo, probably that's where the innovation will occur.
Yeah.
Well, even Twitter has the location API that they use, but it's not integrated in their website yet.
Right.
It's just in applications that use Twitter.
And also the integration into the maps. I mean, I think that's a huge thing. I mean, you even if you have an app on, any one of the platforms, I don't know if there's any in particular that have an actual map.
Yeah.
At the caliber of Google's that has, local tweets with the
a lot of third-party Twitter services offer that, but it's nothing compared to the integration that Google has done with Buzz.
Yeah, so what, you guys have any other further thoughts on Buzz before we push on?
Well, I think it kind of signifies the, where social networking is going. As she had said, it's moving into the mobile space, and I think that Twitter's popularity really, when you think back, it first kicked off when they integrated texting into Twitter, and even if you had just a plain old phone, you could tweet, you could receive tweets just using the 40404 number.
Right.
And this is kind of pushing it to that next step now that the mobile platform is more rich. It can take it to that next level, and I think that the more advanced these smartphones get, it will start to take the place of the lower end computing tasks that you do, because who takes, and very few people take pictures to social network with an actual camera unless you're talking about a vacation. If you're talking about an on the spot share this, that's your phone.
Yeah, but I think they did something smart too, where they used kind of a Trojan horse method and put it in Gmail.
Yes.
And so that everything.
Everyone agrees that was a brilliant move, of course. But what do you think the sort of similar move is with Android? How do they use Android? How do you think they will use the Android platform, or will they, specifically to push forward, Buzz?
Well, the Android platform, I think, from the beginning has been about putting Google in your pocket. It's been on the PC, and it's been accessible through Palm and through the iPhone. But Google really wanted a space that they could push into and make their own, without any sort of limitations. And I think that's what we're seeing now more and more with the advancement of the platform.
Okay.
Really is amazing how Google's just finding ways to sort of snipe at everybody just a little bit. Like they've got, Google Docs, which is free, and they've got, now they've got Buzz, so they're kind of cutting the ankles off of places like Facebook and MySpace. I mean, nobody uses MySpace anymore, but Facebook especially, and
and they're
like
doing it
Friends
blatantly. Like last week, you talked about how they incorporated the multi-touch. And
Yes.
said, "Thank you, Apple."
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, completely blatant ripoff. Yeah, I guess the gloves are
Yeah.
definitely off.
Yeah,
Google's
yeah.
fighting a war on multiple fronts now.
Yeah, they're definitely
They're fighting
just
Apple.
saying
They're fighting Microsoft. Well, and
we're the
Microsoft's not
huge.
where
I
they
mean,
are,
but they're so huge that it's now a question of what is going to happen, because I think if anybody smaller than Google would do it, it'd just be kind of like, oh well, that's nice, like run off and play.
Yeah, nobody.
But,
I don't think anyone else could get critical mass at this point.
right.
to really
Nobody.
Shoot.
Well, they've really built the infrastructure to go forward, as far as the 20% employee time goes, to try and fight these wars on multiple fronts and expand in ways that nobody had thought about before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Frank in NYC had mentioned on our chat that they mentioned that Google can roll out new features in Buzz first for the Android
Yes.
before making it widely available.
But they didn't do that on the iPhone. That's what surprises me.
I know.
The iPhone is a richer experience
Yeah.
first. And I think part of it, I mean, based on what you guys are saying, it sounds like it's because the 2.0 version of Android is not rolled out across all the handsets
across
yet.
all the handsets.
So you
right.
have like some people have, the 1 point whatevers.
And some people are really pissed. I mean,
No,
they're
I know.
upset
Well-
that they don't have Android
Well,
2.0.
it's a very, it's a ragtag. There's a lot of different things going on with different handsets.
Right.
So, I know.
Yeah, I had to hack a ROM myself well, not myself, but I hacked a ROM on there to run 2.0 on my G1. It's I have 2.1 on there now.
Yeah, see,
because I was tired of being left behind.
This is the
Yeah.
thing that irks me about Android. I mean, I love what I see in terms of the openness. I love what I see in terms of the creativity and the power.
Right.
The sheer raw power
It's
of
amazing.
this is way more powerful than the iPhone.
Right.
And it's buzzing right now. But anyway, so basically, but the thing that irks me is the fact that it's so, it's so ratty. It's sort of like it's so poorly produced. It feels so incomplete,
Open
so
source.
hobbyist, so
Right.
half finished, half baked.
And you're getting
it frustrates me.
You're getting other platforms like WebOS and iPhone that are getting, over-the-air updates that are across the board for, iPhone obviously only has one particular product, well, two if you count the non-3G phones, but you're getting that one across the board update for all phones, so everyone's on an equal playing ground, and you don't have that with Android. And I think I would like to see them be a little more.
Things are not easy. Things are not slick. Things are not
Yes.
consumer ready.
Right.
On the Android. There's just so many ways in which that feels to me to be true. From the experience of installing, we've talked about when you install an app, it has all these warnings that come up that the average user is not going to know what those mean.
No, they're going to have no idea.
They have no idea what device drivers are,
Well, it's just like in Windows Vista where they had all of
it's the
those
same
security
thing.
updates and stuff, and then they
It's terrible.
streamlined it with Windows 7
I know.
to make it much more user-friendly, and I would like to see that
But it's
from
not like
Android.
the iPhone. The iPhone is just so easy. I know people get mad when I bring up the iPhone, but I bring it up to make the Android people step up their game because the game is already up in
Right,
so
it's
many
already
ways on the
there.
Android side.
And
It's just-
Google's gotta
it's just
step up.
missing the frosting on the cake.
Yeah.
The cake
Android-
is way
Yeah,
better, but the frosting is terrible.
Right.
What do you guys think?
In my opinion, at least, the installation for the apps, I think that comes from part of having a more open market. Whereas you're installing apps that are less controlled, by the gateway. We don't have Apple standing over it, approving and disapproving of apps.
Yeah, and that's
true.
awesome.
So
I
it's
love
supposed
that.
to tell you,
Yeah.
what that app's going to be doing.
Yeah, I really like the openness of just the availability of apps across the board. There's no, Apple Gestapo
Yeah, no.
watching and waiting, So, and I'm, being able to use things like Google Voice. That's, for me, that's Google Voice, like the future of phones. Like that's a huge
Google
thing.
Voice is awesome.
It's like heaven in a phone. I love Google Voice. So,
Yeah, and we're seeing now people who, like the whole Google Voice fiasco on the iPhone.
right.
That's no problem for Android.
No.
There's like a bunch of apps out there.
Explain that because a lot of people might not know what that means when you say the whole fiasco on the iPhone. Could you elaborate
Well,
on that?
there were a couple Google Voice apps that were on the iPhone, and Google tried to make their own Google Voice app, but Apple said no, thank you, we don't want that in the store for some reason. And we did an interview on the App Show with the guy who created the app Voice Central. We just interviewed him again, and they're moving off of, since Apple won't let them on iPhone, they're moving to the web and using HTML5, similar to what everything else Google is doing on the iPhone. And it's just such a closed platform that they can say for any reason at all that they don't allow an app on the iPhone, and it's ridiculous. And that's not. I mean, with Android, you can just install it.
Yeah.
There's nobody watching the content, which is fabulous. I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's weird because we'd never put up with this kind of stuff from Microsoft. We never let them tell us it's a closed platform. You buy our software.
Exactly.
No,
only
if
install what we
Microsoft had done this,
approve to.
People would revolt.
Oh, yeah,
There would
there'd
be
be-
riots in the streets.
It'd be like pitchforks and torches outside of Bill Gates' house. It'd be ridiculous.
Well, I consider, like, generally speaking, I think of the platform of Android as sort of like the 70s in terms of filmmaking, where it was like people just did whatever the hell they want. Like, it was just like there was no, because the Hayes Act had been repealed and everything, and you could have people having sex in the movies. And it was like the Wild West of film, and I sort of consider it like the Wild West of app development and smartphone development. So, and it's nice that Google is willing to let that happen, as opposed to just saying no, we have to quash that.
Yeah, and you never know. I mean, I told the story last week. We did an app here for Mahalo Answers, and that app, very benign. There's absolutely nothing even remotely questionable about it. However, there was one category in Mahalo Answers that was NSFW, and we had everything else on there. And we had an NSFW category.
My favorite internet
and
tag.
we debated about it, and we felt okay putting it in there, but the fact that Apple might reject the app made us take it out. And so we basically took that one category out. And even then, we were a little bit frightened that perhaps they would reject the app, because it was still possible to ask NSFW questions if they happened to run across one, that hadn't been found by one of our editors and deleted in the wrong category.
Right.
They might have just said, "Oh, sorry, this app can't possibly be in our app store because somebody might have to poke their eyes out and see something they're not supposed to see."
Right. And that's the one thing that Android will always have over Apple. I mean, I don't see Apple loosening the choke collar anytime soon on the App Store for them. So I definitely think Android has a huge lead on user, like, just the breadth of apps available and the willingness to allow anything goes.
Yeah, and it's not only just NSFW content; it's innovation. I mean, if Apple doesn't like something that you're trying to do, they'll say no, and they won't let you do that on the store.
Right.
So that really, it's mass market in the way that a lot of people have iPhones and a lot of people download apps, but it's not going to drive innovation with the iPhone. That's totally where Google's or the Android's strong point is. It's going to be good apps.
Okay. Hey, Emily, we just got a note here that our guest for the next segment just got cut off on the phone. So if you could just take a look at that and let me know what's going on. But anyway, in the meantime, I got an idea. Why don't these guys? So you guys have your own podcast also, right? It's a video podcast. I think it is, right?
We do the streaming video thing, and then we've also got a couple other audio shows too.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and what your shows cover? Give you a little chance to plug yourselves.
It started a couple of years ago with the App Show, and we feature iPhone apps and developers that make cool apps like that. It's kind of a behind the music of iPhone apps. We interview the developers and really go in depth on a good app. But then we also, a little while ago, we started the Android App Show to highlight Android apps, and the Android Tech Show to talk about all the new phones and gadgets and gear that are coming out for Android. And then just 2 weeks ago, we started the iPad Show. So,
wow, you have a show about a product that's not even out yet.
I think I saw one on our Mirror Space Cam. I think I saw him.
Did you get?
waving
I don't
it
think
around.
that. Well, nobody's got one yet. Well, some people have them. Like Colbert's got one, but I don't think these guys.
Yeah.
What is it you guys were showing? You guys did have a tablet of some sort. Was that an Android?
that little thing right there? Yeah, that's
that an Android
that's
tablet?
a mock-up.
What is it?
It's a digital photo screen that's almost the same size as an iPad.
Ah, very nice.
But this one's actually a 16 by 9.
Yeah, it's something we like to use as a mock-up to represent what the iPad will be like.
You and your video trickery, sir.
Now, how many shows have you guys done?
We've done for the iPad one total.
Well, for any of you basically have three. You have 3 shows here, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've got the. Go ahead.
We're up to like show 55 or 56 on the iPhone App Show.
Yep.
And then we've got 6 for the regular Android App Show and the Android Tech Show, and 3 for the iPad Show.
So do you do them weekly like we do? Is that?
Yep, every Sunday, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. go until about 7 p.m.
Oh, so really, you guys go long.
Wow.
You're like Jason.
I was
Jason
gonna
shows
say.
about that long.
Well, we do have
Sort of
4
Return of
shows
the
to do
Kings
in a row.
style length there.
Yeah, we have 4 shows in a row, so
Yeah. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
it's lots of fun, lots of tech and geek fun.
Yeah, we're real we're nerdcore geeks, you know.
That's why we like having you on the show.
So it's
This is
easy
good
to
stuff.
talk about
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
I think we're ready for our next segment. So if you want to
All
fire
right.
that up.
Well, we are
All right. So app of the week.
time
You
for
wanna
app
answer
of the
it?
week.
Yeah.
Let's
Just
get
put
this
the
going.
there we go. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, you might have to turn down the.
I'm going to mute.
Yeah. Could you?
Okay,
Yeah.
muted.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, it's Marianne.
Hi, and so on the phone with us we have Mary Ann Cotter. She's the CEO and founder of Smart Capsules Inc. She created Cooking Capsules. And a little bit of info about Cooking Capsules. It was one of the top 20 winners of the Developer Challenge.
Android Developer Challenge.
For the
right?
Android Developer Challenge. Basically, it's capsules in an app that have 3 easy steps. There is a video you can watch, a short cooking show based on a recipe. If you want to go to the Android cam,
You can see what the app looks like.
we can show you the app.
No.
There we go.
Oops.
So we've got
Sorry,
some.
folks. Still getting used to it. Still getting used to it. There we go.
So we've got some. Recipes there, and you'll be able to choose a recipe and watch a.
Let's try to get one of them going.
Which one are you picking? Oh, that one looks good.
This is Le Cordon Bleu Collège. Recipe brie with pot sauce.
All right.
So
Sounds
while I'm
delicious.
doing this, why don't you tell us a little bit about the app and yourself and your company?
Yeah.
Oh, well, she did a pretty great job right there. It was one of the top 20 in the Android Developer Challenge. That was the first challenge. There's another one since then. We've gotten press and Wired and Time and the Wall Street Journal and MSNBC and all kinds of good stuff. It's Watch, Shop, and Make, and we produce all the little shows ourselves, which is a lot of work, but it makes them we want them,
Right.
which is kind of short and entertaining and close up and designed for mobile. So we have a small collection there called the Taster that you're looking at, which is 8 recipes. It's kind of a funny hodgepodge because it's half of them are French and half are Indian.
Oh.
So we're gonna our next one that's coming out very soon. I hesitate to say a date because you know how that goes sometimes with development.
Sure.
It drags on a little longer than you wish it would, but we have another one coming out that's very similar to this one called Cooking Capsules Brunch,
Oh.
and that will be out very soon. And we'll have 8 really nice brunch recipes. So
Now-
just a small, little, nice menu to make and the easiest way to make them.
Now, so when you started doing this, how long have the products been out? How long have the apps been out there?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you very well. You said
How long have the apps been available?
Since the Android market opened, we were one of the first apps on the market. So we launched the day that the market launched. There was about 30 apps on there, and a lot of them were Google apps. So we were one of the only independent apps on there.
And now, how did you do that? How were you so early?
How did we manage to do that?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we were deemed by Google to be ready
Mm-hmm.
to do that. They kind of looked at some of the apps that were out there and they asked us, can you be ready in time? And I was like, I don't know, because
The answer is yes.
to have
The answer is always
a
yes.
ton of recipes. And while we had been working in development for quite some time, the second phase of the challenge is in 2 phases, right? So we got in the top 50 and won $25,000, and then we built up our team and then entered the second phase, which was to compete against the other 49 teams and try to get in the top 10 or 20. So then we got in the top 20, so we won $100,000. So the second phase of the challenge, we added all these crazy bells and whistles, but we didn't really add them. We kind of air quote added them. You know what I mean? It was sort of just to show off the potential of the idea more than anything, and it worked on the surface, but it wouldn't be something that you would put on the market yet. You know, so that's why the panic set in when they were like, "Oh, are you going to be ready for the Android market?" It was like,
right.
So then we basically paired it back to the essence of it, which was watch, shop, and make, and took out all the bells and whistles, because, you know, I'm big on just doing less stuff but doing it right instead of doing a ton of stuff just to do it, you know.
Yeah, and I'm big on simple personally, and I loved, when I first saw your app, I loved the fact that, you know what, I know what this is, I know how to use it, there's no question about it, it's just very, very simple.
And 3 easy steps.
That's watch, shop, and make.
Watch, shop, make. That's, I mean,
it doesn't get any simpler than that, does it?
And for people like me who burn cornflakes, Marianne, you are my hero. Because I can't cook for anything really. It's so cooking capsules have been very helpful for me. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, it's for you, and it's also for people who love to cook. You know, it's just for any range of people. But I think whether you love to cook or hate it or aren't good at it or are good at it, it helps to have something that makes it easier. And that's the whole point of it. Is it just takes all the kind of, I don't know, like finding a recipe in a cookbook and then extrapolating the ingredients list and, you know, transcribing those, taking that to the store, and then realizing, oh, I didn't take it to the store, I left it at home, or you go online and find a recipe and it prints on, you know, one page with a little bit on the next page, or you run out of paper, you run out of ink, or I don't know. I just wanted to feel more organized about cooking, and I felt like I would do it more often if it was easier, and that something like this just should exist, basically.
And did you?
Sorry, get your little viewer thing going on. So let me see if I can get the volume up.
1 cup dried yellow split peas, an onion, 1 big clove of garlic, 4 cups water, 2 teaspoons of garam masala, salt to taste.
So this is the video. I just clicked on watch. So now I'm watching. It's Chana dal, I think it is, if I'm pronouncing it right. So this would be one of the Indian dishes, I suppose. So basically, you show a little bit about, you know, okay, this is what we're going to do. So you get it. It's very easy, very simple.
And again, for novice chefs, I like that they give you pictures of what everything looks like.
Yeah, me too. There'd be no way I could do this.
Well, it helps because some things you just have to see, like, you know, texture.
That's
or something.
true.
You kind of have to see it to know, but then you don't want to sit there and watch a half an hour cooking show.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of love the idea of really short cooking shows because they're action oriented. So you're like, oh, what am I going to have for dinner? And then you watch a show. Whereas normally, you know, with cooking shows, they're fun to watch, but they're more for ideas for later. You know, you might take notes or look or try to find the recipe online afterwards or something like that, which is great, but not when you're at work and you're hungry and you're tempted to just, you know, get fast food or something.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to kind of make something that's easy but elegant.
So the other thing I'm showing you, I don't know if you can see this on the screen, I'm showing step 2, which is shop. So when I go to the store, I've got the little, you know, basically I take my droid with me. There's my checklist of all the stuff I need for the to make it. So I don't have to figure it out, how much I need, everything. And then finally there's the make step, where these are the step-by-step instructions, which is exactly what you would expect.
Just check them
basically,
off.
You see here in writing what you just saw in the video. So real simple, real nice.
You enjoy a delicious meal.
That's right.
Hopefully.
It's pretty foolproof.
Yeah, no, I like foolproof when it comes to food. So it's, and also I'm curious as to, so you guys have developed cooking capsules. Now, are you planning on doing anything in the, sort of in the vein of teaching people, like there's a lot of cooking sort of terms and like folding an egg into something, for example. For younger people, they'd have no idea what that means. Like, and so I'm curious if you're, like cooking techniques type thing where you would, you know, kind of learn those sort of loftier cooking process.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's something that I would like to do eventually, is have some little techniques. That might be something once we establish some partnerships with different companies that you know, we could work with them on that too. But It's not in the immediate plans, but it's definitely something I've heard before, and I like the idea of a lot because I think that would be neat. Just as you're going down in the list, maybe, and it tells you to do something like, I don't know, saute or something, and then you're like, well, how do I saute? And then you click, and you just see a quick little,
recap
and recap of how to, or how best to slice an orange or whatever it is. There's always better ways of doing things. So yeah.
I got a question. I got a question about the sort of mechanics of what you're doing here. You have. So I've got the free app. That's what you were just seeing there. So basically, that's the. It's not actually called Cooking Capsules. It's called something else. I'm sorry, I don't recall exactly what it's called. What is your free app called again? It's called what?
It's called the Cooking Capsules Taster.
Okay, Cooking Capsules Taster. So that is the free app you can get in the Android market. Now you have some upsell apps that you sell for money. What are those, and how much do they cost, and what are they called?
I wish we did. We don't yet.
Oh, I thought you guys did. I thought this was like the free version. And
I really wish we did. We don't have an upsell app, and the app that's on the way is much like the Taster. It's another little collection, and the current plan is to offer that for free as well. And so we're trying out the advertising model, and there's lots of other, I think, ways that will bring in revenue as well.
How many downloads have you...
product placement and that sort of thing in the future, but it's a matter of getting to the point where we're making those deals. Right now, I'm just really concerned about getting more content out and getting more product out, and then I'm going to focus a little more on the partnerships and different strategies and ways that we can monetize, because that's pretty important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always important for a company to monetize.
Monetizing, very important.
So how many downloads would you say that you have? How many, what's your installed base?
I should have checked today to tell you for sure, but it's about, I'd say about 65,000, something like that.
Pretty impressive.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. That's pretty macho.
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's not on the level of, say, like a Pandora or something like that, but why would it be?
No, but this is a great little,
Yeah, this is, I just, the functionality of it is just so, I love that it's, because you always take your cell phone with you everywhere to the store.
So you have the recipes with you.
Like you said, Marianne, you don't have to forget, you don't have to worry about forgetting a piece of paper at home, or, I didn't bring a pencil to like check off what I have in my cart, or, whatever it is, you just have it. I mean, it's right there.
The other thing I'll say about this one, too, is I'm always complaining about how a lot of the applications don't feel finished and polished. This one does. This one feels very slick.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it feels very nice.
The interface is very user-friendly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I think that was a compliment, because I did all the UI and the graphics and all that. I did the illustrations and the animations and video direction and all that stuff. So I'm sort of more like the art director than anything else, or the creative director.
So let's go to remote host real quick. I want to see what they're. Yeah. So you guys have any thoughts on this?
Well, it's just nice to see apps that appeal to more than, I guess, the geek crowd. Though it sounds like it's simple enough that even I could probably be cooking off of it.
Yeah. No, I've looked through it. I honestly feel like I could even do it, and that is saying something. Trust me. So
I just remember when the platform first came out, it just seemed like it's Android was so isolated. Now there's a lot more phones out to appeal to more types of consumers, and this is exactly the kind of thing that'll help mature the platform in that direction.
Yeah, and the whole integration with the video and media, you'd think it would be an iPhone thing, but no, this works great on Android too. So.
Yeah, they're basically just saying they love the production value of it, Marianne. Sorry, I apologize. You probably can't hear them.
Thank you. I really appreciate that a lot. We work hard on that. I wanted to make it I wanted to give it high production value, and the team and I have worked really hard on that, and just we don't want it to be. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, you could be the YouTube of recipes; it'd be great," and that's not really the goal. I don't want to be about quantity and finding, having millions of recipes. I'd rather have, I'd certainly rather have more than we have now. But in time we'll have a nice collection. But it's sort of like the boutique approach as opposed to the big box store approach.
How many?
And there's nothing wrong with the big box store approach, but that's not our goal, because there's enough out there. Like, if you want millions of recipes, then you go to Google.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Google it.
Do you guys? How many recipes do you have right now?
Well, right now on the market, there's just that taster collection, which is 8, and this next collection we'll come out with 8, and then we'll do another one with 8, and then we're just gonna kind of see how that goes.
Got it. Okay.
And then
Very
see,
cool.
and then kind of strategize from there and decide, is this the best model? Because it's slow going when you're producing all the content yourself, and
It is.
there's great demand for more recipes. I think that's the feedback we get more than anything else, is it just needs more, which is obvious. It really does. So,
Okay.
so we'll just try to, balance the quality and quantity thing and just kind of build over time. I guess people just have to be patient with us because we're very small, and while we did win that money, it got split a lot of different ways.
It always does.
So
Yes.
only a portion of it went back into the company, and so
Okay.
and we're self-funded and whatever, so it's not things would go a lot quicker if we had more funding behind us, but at the same time, it's sort of the lean and mean bootstrapping approach. So
That's the way to go.
And more money involved means more people involved. And
that's
as they
right.
say,
That's true. There's advantages to
chefs.
both. I mean,
More chefs in the
so,
kitchen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
More
I think
chefs
it's
in
just
the
a matter of getting it out there, getting attention, letting people know that it exists, because while we got all that press, that was quite a while ago now, and
Yeah.
so it's a matter of getting more out there and then getting more eyeballs on it. Now there's
Well,
more
people
phones.
people
There's
really,
these Android phones.
as you say, people really seem to love it. So we should probably move
Yeah.
on to the next segment.
yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so much, Marianne.
Oh well, thank you guys. I appreciate you having me on, and good luck with the show. It looks great. It looks like Charlie Rose's set there.
Hey, all right, that's not
It
too
is.
bad. I'll
We
take
appreciate
that.
that.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
You're doing a good job, you guys. Keep it up.
Hey, thank you very much, Marianne.
You too. Thank
Marianne.
All
you.
right, take care.
Cooking
All right, bye.
capsules.
Cooking capsules. Thank
It's
you.
almost like the 21st century version of The Joy of Cooking by Julia Child.
Yes.
It is. Well, I remember in the 70s, and I am old enough to remember the 70s, frighteningly enough. But I remember they used to have like these like sort of ads about the future, and they have like this sort of computer. They imagined that the home computer, like the use for it, would be recipes in the kitchen, and they have like 70s housewife on like this thing that looks like a
Yeah.
teletype machine, all like, oh look, recipes, and that was pretty much the extent of the imagination that they thought. This is what a home computer would be used for.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, now we have recipes.
Yeah,
So they
imagine
were
the
right
panic
a
if,
little bit, but
Yeah, very.
they finally got it right.
Hey,
30 years
yeah,
later.
30 years later.
And
It
they're
only took
building
30 years.
Android into refrigerators and microwaves, so you never know where it could go.
That's true too.
That is also very true. That is also very true.
But imagine the panic of the 50s if they could imagine something like Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think
Yeah.
that would have made any sense to them whatsoever. But anyway, so we should move on to the next segment,
Open
probably.
lines.
Yeah. And oddly enough, on Open Lines, we have you guys, because we were
Yeah.
supposed to have one other guest, but she unfortunately couldn't make it last minute today. She got throat scratchy thing going on, so we're going to go back to you guys. My question for you is, now you guys do a show all about Android, and you've done several shows all about Android. What do you think is exciting? Like, what are the things that you've seen that have really sort of popped your eyeballs open? What have been some of the highlights of your show, I guess?
I guess I kind of like the way that the platform isn't limiting itself to what we think of it right now or what it was originally thought of as just like a smartphone platform. As we mentioned a couple of minutes ago, it's pushing into the kitchen. I don't know, what that's going to look like, but by the nature of what Android is, somebody can take it and play with it and make a microwave out of it. Or make tablets out of it, like what we're seeing come out now, and I don't know. It's just a really exciting time to be.
Yeah, like that new Notion Ink one, the Atom tablet. That's supposed to be like crazy and like better than the iPad.
Yeah, I mean like 1080p video and all this other stuff. I mean something I would never imagine out of an oversized phone, basically at a decent price.
Right. No, the Atom, actually, we had Barbara, I can never pronounce the last name, but Dybwad from Mashable. She's a writer for Mashable. We had her on, I think, 2 weeks ago when the iPad was all the rage, and it had just been announced. And we were basically doing the flip side. What sort of tablet or pads are coming out on the Android side of the equation? And she basically had a nice list on Mashable of like 8 or 9. And the Atom was one of the ones that she pointed out. So that one is awesome.
Yeah.
Is that out yet? Can you actually buy the Atom?
Not yet.
When is it? You
not
guys know
yet.
when it's going to come out?
I haven't seen any release date, but I haven't seen any release dates for any Android tablets really. At this point, it's kind of this is coming out quote unquote soon.
I went to go buy one last week because I wanted to see one. I wanted to play around with one for the show. Actually bring one on the show, and like after having fooled around with it, and I can't find one. I don't know. They don't. None of them seem to be out yet. So
Yeah, I think it's just the race to be there with the iPad when it launches
Right.
now. I think it's really, but if you can put USB ports, same
needs a
battery
USB port.
life.
That's the big thing.
That's it can complete multitasking, multi-touch capabilities.
that's the big thing. I mean, Jason Calacanis on Twist this week in startups, huge rant about this time about how the iPad has no
USB.
USB port, right? And just basically, it's now become sort of
It's a giant Kindle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sort of my thinking on the pads are that that's exactly what they are.
Right.
Primarily, is that they're there to be a better Kindle, and they're there to because the Kindle's, I love the Kindle, but it's fundamentally flawed in multiple ways.
Yeah,
There's no concept of a page,
Right.
which is just ridiculous. You should have a picture-perfect representation of the book if you want it, and with the fonts preserved, because sometimes fonts are used in storytelling, and like Stephen King famously used it in, I think it was The Shining. I'm not sure if I'm getting this right, but one of his novels. Basically, the fonts get all kind of crazier, like as the guy writes. Like basically, the fonts get crazier the deeper
As
into
the story
madness he
goes,
descends.
right.
The fonts are part of the writing, and on the Kindle that would have been absolutely, or it is absolutely lost. So
Yeah.
you cannot get that same experience, and so
Yeah, one of our co-hosts, his day job works with a publisher, and he says there's going to be some big uproar from publishers because they write books specifically with that in mind. It's a page turner. They want you to turn the page and keep turning.
right.
So yeah, you were so right on with that.
Yeah, so I mean, as an a lot of people
Well-
don't know this, but I'm an author also, and so I did. So we had I had another show. We had Anne Rice on. We had Margaret Atwood on, and both of them, Anne Rice actually didn't know at the time. She hadn't seen the Kindle yet, and she didn't know that the fonts were not preserved, and she kind of went like this, and was somewhat horrified as an author that
Oh, yeah,
that the
well-
experience was not
Exactly the
same.
way it's
And
intended.
the point is, on the Android tablets, that's possible now.
Right. Well, and like a book like you were mentioning, The Shining. I mean, a book like House of Leaves.
Yeah.
If you've ever read
I've
that,
never read that one, but
the entire book it's insane. Like when you read it, there's some of the pages only have 3 words on them,
Oh,
and some
okay.
of them have it's
I've
all
seen this
upside
book.
down.
Actually,
and
I saw this book
Some
in-
is
yeah,
in
okay.
red, some is in blue. Like there's text in red and blue, and the thing is you totally lose that. You can't
it's almost
read
like
that
Myst.
book
It's like
on
a big
Kindle.
puzzle that you have to like.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And you can't read that book on Kindle.
It would
I mean,
make
there's
no
just
sense
no
on the Kindle.
it would be extremely it would just be boring and make no
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, the fact that so you guys are excited by the tablets. You're excited by, So now, why do I care about putting Android on my washing machine or my microwave? Why does that even matter?
Well, I mean, it's basically a computer, and it doesn't limit, what that washing machine can do. I don't know what I would do with the washing machine, but, I don't know what I would do if I was developing for Android anyway. I'm a user.
Okay.
And it lets somebody open their imagination for what that washing machine can do for you.
All right.
That
Yeah,
makes
we were
sense.
talking on another show. It could, if it's a dryer, it could tweet you when your clothes are done, so you can go pick them up.
That's true.
That's very true. See,
That's pretty cool. Okay.
These are small. I mean, and they're small things, but they're really. I mean,
Or it could tweet you when it was available.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're in an apartment complex and you don't have to go down there, you can just
You
basically
sign up with the
check it and see.
the
Ask it.
apartment complex's laundromat Twitter,
Exactly.
and you get a little ping when you end up.
Okay, I actually buy that. That's the first useful thing I've heard.
I think I'm impressed that
That's pretty
somebody
cool.
came up with that. It's really awesome.
Yeah, Frank caught on the same thing. Frank
Yeah.
in New York City said it almost the same time I said it.
Well, he's
Yeah,
in
and
New York
that-
City, so there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
So the laundromats, you got all that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's one side of it. The other side is for developers. They don't have to invest all their money in making some kind of proprietary system to run all their computers. They can just use an off-the-shelf almost version of Android and just get running right away.
Yeah, but isn't
Yeah,
that
what's
called Linux?
Well, yeah,
that's
but
what yeah.
this is more Android comes with a stack that has the tight memory management that you need in a small system, a good touch interface. With there's a company that's starting up called MIPS that has these really cheap system on a chip setups that you could put into just about any device that run Android.
Right.
And you can build a full screen app on top of that where we talk about Android as the platform, but the end user, doesn't even have to know that. All they have to know is this is my washing machine and it has a touch screen and that's how I control it.
Right. Okay. Now, so now you guys have covered some other apps. What else in sort of the app verse on the Android side have you seen that made your eyeballs spin?
Well, I mean, the 3D gaming now that's coming, it's kind of spreading. iPhone kind of paved the way for that. But with the new phones that are coming out for Android, that seems to be a fresh area for development.
Okay.
So I like where that's going. I don't know. There's so much stuff with Android. It's hard to really encapsulate it down into one thing that excites you, because as soon as you start thinking, oh man, I've got to get that, then somebody comes out with something else that surprises you.
And you go, ooh, that's better. I want that now.
Yeah. Welcome
like
to
the Nexus
technology.
One.
It's that way every week.
Spend so much money on apps where it's like, oh, that's cool. I really like that. And then you get it, and a week later, there's a new one that's like got like one more thing that you just, oh, I didn't think of that. Maybe I need that one. And then you go download that.
That makes sense.
Well, they're talking about now, like with the new phone that's going to be coming out with a 1.5 gigahertz dual core processor.
Isn't that that's the Scorpion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I mean, you can shoot HD video and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, Android 2.2, and I was reading about that today.
Yeah, with WiMAX and 4G. Yeah, crazy.
What do you guys like in terms of devices? What's your sort of favorite geek device?
I'm running on the G1 right now. If you want to use the Space Cam, but I don't know. I think I'm a big guy for physical keyboards. So anything that comes down the pipe, it's got to have a physical keyboard if it's for me.
So no Nexus One for you, huh?
No Nexus One for me. I looked at that, and I've played around with the voice transcribing here, where they use the voice for an input.
Yeah.
And it's really great, but I can still type faster on that physical keyboard than I can speak to the phone.
See,
and it doesn't really work when you're in a cube and you're telling your wife about, what you got to do, or she wants you to go pick up this or that or whatever.
Or what you want her to wear.
Are you going to say your business all out?
You don't want to be talking about that. You gotta type that out.
So I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm exactly the inverse. I can't. I mean, I've tried using the keyboards, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I've like fat little fingers, so I can't. I always hit the other keys.
I'm
but
such a physical keyboard person.
I've learned how to just sort of like use the tip of my finger, and I've gotten very fast at it. So
yeah, see, I'm.
That's me.
I gotta.
You're the other way.
I'm the other way. I gotta have a physical keyboard.
Well, the good news is that with Android you can have whatever you want.
Yes, you can have. There
is no iPhone with a keyboard. You just can't. That doesn't exist.
Yep. No.
Yeah, I'm stuck with a non-physical keyboard in mine.
I tried that too. I mean, I used to have an iPod Touch when they first came out, and so I kind of trained on the the virtual keyboard for a while, and it just really did not light my fire. I mean, when I came to that decision between iPhone or Android, that's what really sold it for me. But I mean, now, maybe I could get a Nexus One. They have hacks now where the USB port on there is a host, so you can plug a USB keyboard right into the thing.
Yeah. Although
well, with the new iPhones, they're supposed to have the Bluetooth keyboard too. So.
Yeah, it's true. Bluetooth. I mean, the good news is that there is competition between hardware vendors.
Yeah.
Which you don't have that on the iPhone side.
No.
So.
Huge competition.
Huge competition.
There's a
Monsters.
total lockdown on Apple's side.
There's like 50 or 60 devices coming out this year that are Android. Just
which
phones.
is fantastic.
Which is awesome, and they're all going to be really cheap.
All gravy for the consumer, which is great.
So.
Now, I'm actually curious as to if you guys have heard about Google testing this like 1 gigabit internet connection in communities. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. That's actually a personal interest of mine. I want to see if I can try and get that around here, but I think every geek thought that to themselves as soon as they read that story.
Now, wait. First of all, this is interesting. Where are you guys located?
The middle of nowhere in Michigan, kind of. We're in Jackson, Michigan. Yeah.
Okay, funny
but
thing.
That's the kind of place Google would pick.
No, here's the funny. But what's even funnier is I lived in Jackson, Michigan when I was 6. When I was I think when I was 5 or 6, like for about a year.
Small
So
world.
I was at
so
Cascade
all the
Falls
bad stuff that
like
we're
that.
famous for, like the largest prison in Michigan and largest walled prison in the world for a while, and where the Republican Party was founded. But
You
awesome.
gotta be famous for something.
I don't know why my parents made me put me there.
Why would you?
Now
yeah,
I'm scared.
so now you're kind of worried.
I'm a little bit worried. But
To make
anyway,
some phone
I'm
calls.
glad I grew up. But anyway.
But I know they were talking about the app development with that. It's a really big, like they're really pushing developers on this connection. to push the limits for apps. And I'm just wondering what you guys think. What you guys think might be possible in terms of future apps on a connection like that.
Well, I think telepresence is a big thing. You know, we've talked about working from home for a long time, and you know, with companies pushing more towards being green and using less paper, what we're seeing is that it's going to be much less of a requirement to be in the office. And if you have that kind of a connection at your house, then you can interact with people in ways that we really can't right now from a large distance.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even trying to do Skype right now, you can see that it doesn't really work so well.
Yeah.
And I tend to wonder about the future of things like MMOs. I mean, I can't imagine playing World of Warcraft on a small screen like that, but I wonder about the future of online gaming in terms of that connection and in terms of how prolific that might be. Oh, you're so popular.
Yeah, with a gigabit.
You're very popular, man.
Turn this thing off.
With a gigabit connection in your house, I mean, it could really, you know, redefine what a game room is. You know, because it's going to mirror, it's going to pair with a lot of other technologies that we don't really have yet. You know, very large screens, you know, immersive environments, all this kind of stuff that's, you know, just over the horizon as far as, you know, coming down to consumers and actually being developed for a mass market. It's going to require a lot of bandwidth, you know, and that just, it isn't available right now. So it's a chicken and egg kind of scenario.
And this really fits in with what Google likes to do, because they really like to kind of draw a line in the sand and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Let's see what everybody else can bring it up to. Because we saw that with Gmail even. I mean, they said you can get 1 gigabyte of email storage when everybody else was like at 200K.
That is an excellent point.
And then they came out with the 700 megahertz auction, and they said, we want to bid on that, and that brought everybody in. And then we see that with the Nexus 1. They came out with a premier device saying, okay, cell phones, get your act together. This is a great cell phone here. Let's see what everybody else can come up with. Now they're doing it with the internet. And they're saying the internet is so horrible in the United States that we really need to get more competition.
Well, we are really behind everybody else. It's kind of sad.
And specifically, I mean, that's a great place to hit Apple in the head, right? Because AT&T sucks.
Yeah, the network
No bones
is
about
awful.
it. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
And
Well, how
you know,
long,
there's
too,
one
have
thing
we
all
heard about
iPhone
this?
users complain about. It's AT&T's network. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
how
look
long
at
have we
how
heard
long it
about
took
it?
them to get MMS.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, if you have Android people doing things
that's
that
so
you know
funny.
AT&T people are just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You know, that sends a big message to iPhone users in particular.
Yeah.
But go ahead, you guys have a thought on that?
No, how long have we heard about this dark fiber that they've been buying up? You know, and they've been denying. Oh, you know, we're not doing anything with it. It's for our own data centers.
Yeah.
You know, all this other stuff, and then now they've come out with this announcement. And then I've even seen rumors with what T-Mobile's supposed to be spun off from Deutsche Telekom, and people are talking about Google possibly buying it. I mean, you want to talk about moving into new spaces and you know, shaking up things. I mean, imagine if they were their own, you know, provider of wireless services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would get, I think it would start getting a little crazy.
Yes, it would.
Especially if they were also the data, I mean, if they're also the data provider in terms of like AT&T's data network, I mean, that would just be, there would be some, I think Apple would have to start, I mean, they'd start buying up that cable. I mean, they would have to compete. It would force their hand.
They have to do something, because I don't think they can exist the same way they have been.
No.
All right.
One of the principles too that they've had with this new initiative is that the network that they established, they've already said that they're going to be allowing equal access to it to resellers, and that's kind of a sore point, you know, for me, especially when we live in an area where you have a choice between AT&T, which is forced to resell some, you know, of their network, you know, service to the individual homes, and you have Comcast, which isn't, and that's your choice. You know, and if you have somebody like Google who decides to become an infrastructure company and then leave the, you know, the last little bit of sales to other people, then, you know, you start creating jobs, you start creating an infrastructure that we don't have right now, like you know, the way that the highways revolutionize what it means to live in America, you know, as far as where you can go and the homogeneity of the culture. You know, an internet literal super highway like this to everybody's house, I think will totally revolutionize what it means to live in America, to be connected like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
no, I think you're absolutely right.
All right, want to go to news?
Yeah, let's, Mark, give us the news.
Okay, so first up is Nexus 1 disaster averted. So Google's own admission, everything associated with basically the Android platform, specifically Nexus 1, is fairly experimental, right? So this week, they've apparently been getting a lot of flack because there's nobody they can call. Something goes wrong with their Nexus 1, you got to go to an online forum, right?
Yeah.
And which is not very, again, is not a very good consumer experience.
Post and wait for a response.
Yeah.
That's,
it's just like,
yikes.
the people are. I think we should be moving past the CompuServe era,
right? Yeah,
when it comes to customer support for a consumer device.
Right.
So anyway, so now they've added a phone line, an 888 number that you can call to speak to an actual human. And the other change they made this week is they lowered the equipment recovery fee from $350 down to $150. And I'm not sure exactly what the equipment recovery fee is. I think it's if there's an early termination of your contract.
It's the cancellation. Like that. Okay. Yeah, it was huge, $350.
That's ridiculous, though. I mean, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, and that was on top of the T-Mobile.
On top of the T-Mobile fee, right? So you're paying.
You serious? So you paid twice?
You're paying $500 to cancel your service, which was just
it ended up being more than the phone if you just bought the phone straight off the shelf.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So my question was first of all, was the Nexus 1 truly in trouble in terms of a public relations disaster potentially before this move?
Well, for me, I think that I think they would have been had something like the Sidekick disaster happened.
What is that? Talk to me.
Sidekicks ended up losing a whole bunch of cloud information. People's.
Oh, really? I didn't know about
people's
this.
stuff that was synced. They lost.
Oh, wow.
But I think the most I hate to say famous, but the most famous person to lose all that information, who made a big stink about it, was Perez Hilton. Was freaking out because he lost all of his contacts.
Well, of course.
I think he lost 80% of his contacts because one of the servers had gone down and he couldn't get anything back.
Oh, wow.
And if Nexus 1 had some kind of disaster like that, I think that would have been incredibly bad PR for them. Very damaging. But fortunately, I think that you hit the nail on the head and said averted.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think they escaped too. What do you guys think?
I think luckily, because they only sell the Nexus 1 online, and the big deal is the unlocked and no contract, that they really have a geek audience right now for that phone. So I think a lot of the geeks were willing to kind of suffer through a little bit of that stuff as early adopters, and they've just made it better. So,
I mean, Google really isn't used to catering to people like that. And if you think about their experience as far as offering services to the general masses, when in the earlier days, it hasn't happened too much lately, but when Gmail goes down, there's no 800 number to call.
That's true.
There isn't.
But Gmail doesn't go down. I mean, pretty much.
No, well, not so much anymore. It used to, though. If you think back, I mean, it would just go down and there would be no announcement, or it would just go down for a part of the country, and it was hard to find out even that because back then there was no Twitter to say, where is this happening?
And people have
when
no
it first
idea
came
what's
out,
going
sure.
on. Yeah.
But I think everyone understood Gmail was fairly experimental at the time. But.
Yeah, and we do a lot of stuff for Gmail's hosted applications, like the Google Docs and all that kind of stuff for businesses, and that's even hard to contact people with.
Right.
Huh.
And you're paying money to them.
I'm just glad I don't have any problems with any of that.
Yeah, to be honest with you, at Mahalo, we use the hosted applications from Google here. And, obviously I use my Gmail account all the time. And I don't know, the 3 years
there
of
haven't
Mahalo,
been that many problems, but all it takes is one.
Right, yeah.
That's a very good point.
And I think that's, for me, that's the big thing where it's I think that's, having somebody on a phone line for support is good. But, I mean, I think the decision to do that was very wise because, like our friends in, was it where are they? Jackson?
Jackson. Yeah,
you guys are in
Jackson, Michigan.
Jackson, Michigan. Isn't it? You guys must be freezing to death right now.
Yeah, we got 10 inches of snow, yes.
No.
Snow apocalypse continues.
Yes, but I think I agree with you guys. It only takes one misstep and loss of data for people to just go apeshit and be like, this is unacceptable, and yeah.
Okay. Okay, so next story. We're back to Buzz again, surprisingly enough. There was a big brouhaha this week about how when you signed into Buzz for the first time, or anyone who looked at your profile and could see your initial friend list, which is derived from the people you tend to email with the most. So immediately inside of Google Buzz, you could see, if I went to, let's say, before you even logged on for the first time, I could see who you've been emailing with the most, which is really sketchy, right?
A little shady.
So, for example, if you have a business and I'm a competitor, I can then see who who I'm doing business with and you're doing business with,
and the most
by the volume of email. I can infer a lot of different business intelligence.
A lot of ad dollars.
Exactly.
In that.
Or maybe you're emailing an ex-boyfriend or something like that, right?
And then there's an ad for I do want to get back together with your ex.
Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy things that can be deduced from that information.
Yeah.
So Google's taking a lot of flack from that. Now there's an Android-specific instance of this as well. When you use Buzz on your Android handset, by default, when you publish the near me, the nearby tab, like I did in the beginning of the show, it shows all of the buzzes that are coming from nearby you automatically. You don't have to be. Those people were up on my screen. I'm not following them. They're not following me.
They're just in the vicinity. Right.
They're just in the vicinity, and that is the default setting. So basically, I've never opted into that. So if I buzz something, anyone else could see my location and where I am right now, without my permission, right? So my question is this analogous to the initial privacy kerfuffle that Google just went and stepped in, or is this less innocuous, or what's our view on this?
I think it's just as bad, but if you want to get a lot of people using it, it's better to say sorry than to ask for permission.
So do you think they thought about this?
That's true.
I think they did think about it, yeah.
And they basically decided, well,
it's always easier. Yeah, it's always easier to say sorry than to ask for permission. No, that's absolutely. You're absolutely right.
So they have the distinct advantage of not being Facebook.
Yeah.
So whenever they do stuff like this,
There's
people
no groups.
don't, start groups and
1
raise their
million people
pitchforks.
strong to have private locations. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, if they really wanted to make it opt-in, they wouldn't have put it in Gmail. They would have made it a separate service like Latitude, and no one would have adopted it. Putting it in Gmail made it just everyone saw it, everyone gets it, everybody's in.
So Google basically made a conscious decision to go do this, knowing that people would be angry, and so they must feel very threatened.
But then, I guess on the flip
right?
side,
Don't you think that? Does this mean that Google feels threatened
I don't
in their
think
heart
so.
of hearts by Facebook?
Everybody has Twitter envy.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly have
Even
Twitter
Facebook
envy.
has
I think
Twitter
that's,
envy, yeah.
But I don't think so, because the thing is the one thing that Google can always say as an ace is, well, you're buzzing. Like you are aware of the fact that you're putting yourself out into a social network.
Yeah.
And it strikes me as odd that people are like, I need to keep my Twitter super private.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Like, just call your friends then. Like, call your 6 friends that you have. If you're keeping it private, you're not
using
not using it what it's intended for.
It's like an antisocial social network.
Right. It's a I don't
antisocial
understand that.
Yeah, I guess I'm with you guys on that. So, all right, next story. Skyfire purchases Steel Android browser. Bit of an Android browser shakeup in the Android browser world. Skyfire, which is best known for its Windows mobile browser, purchased a company called Kobesoft, which produced a thing called the Steel browser, which is based on WebKit. So if you're familiar with what Apple's been up to with browsers, you'll be familiar with WebKit. So I guess the big question here is this really a big deal, or is this nothing? Is this something? Is this a shot across anyone's bow in the browser wars on the Android handset?
Hey, what do you guys think?
Well, I think that Steel was the first alternative browser that was released for Android, which is something that, again, the iPhone can't do because they won't allow competition against their own browser. But it's kind of, at least in my opinion, it's kind of stagnated. It hasn't really grown at the pace that it had first started. And I think that if, purchasing it from another company, if they can kind of inject a little bit, more oomph into the development process there and create a better competitor to the included browser, then, it's only better for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's actually, you bring up a very interesting point that never occurred to me before. On the iPhone, you cannot create a browser as an app. You cannot create something which competes with Safari. It's a big no-no.
Apple will crush you with their iron fist.
Yes, they'll slap you and tell you to get out. So,
Yeah, no, that's a big no-no.
So there is no competition for browsers.
We have Opera, Steel. Well, I don't know what they're going to call it now. Dolphin, which is more like a social-focused browser
with multi-touch.
Yeah, it was one of the first apps with multi-touch. Anyway.
Now, how is it? So let's talk about that real quick. So how is that social? How is that browser social?
They just make it a lot easier to share stuff. Like when you're in Android, you have to hit. Say you're in the regular browser, you hit menu,
right,
and then more, and then share. It's kind of a laborious task, but you can inside Dolphin, it makes stuff a lot easier to add it to Google Reader or to Twitter or Facebook. It's a lot tighter experience. I mean, the other features that some of the other browsers have, such as speed and reliability, aren't there as much as what the social aspect is. But that's the trade-off that you're making when you go to that alternative browser.
Got it. Okay, so it's called Dolphin. I'm going to check that. I haven't seen it before. I'll check that out. Okay, so next story. Free apps on the Android versus paid. The ratio is very low. So on the iPhone platform, this is from a company called Distimo, by the way. I should probably point that out. This is where these facts and figures are coming from. There are 150,000 apps on the iPhone App Store. 75% are paid applications, and 25% are free, roughly. I don't think it breaks out exactly like that, but for big numbers, speaking in very general terms, that's about the ratio.
Right.
So this is in stark contrast to Android, the Android market, where the apps are pretty much 60% free, 40% paid. So let's see. Yeah. Oh, one other little fact, sort of a random fact. Interestingly enough, in the App Store, on the Apple side, the highest percentage of apps are books. So books as applications.
Very
So they're not really apps. They're actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what happens is that if you have a book, if you're an author, and I know this because I did this. I actually put my book out as an app in the iPhone App Store.
Huh.
What I did was I basically got a partner who made something like a Kindle application which my book was baked into, hard coded, so it would only read one book, and then people would download that app and they would pay for it, and we set a price of like $5.99, so fairly innocuous, paperbacky, Kindle-y kind of pricing.
Right.
And these account for 27,000. There are 27,000 book apps now in the App Store. 92% of those are paid. So, which this bodes very well, of course. If you think that the iPad is essentially a better Kindle, then this makes a lot of sense suddenly, right? So, question: why? First of all, why is it the disparity between the 75, 25%, 60-40? Is that really a disparity? Is that just is that going to catch up over time? Let's talk about that first of all. What do you guys think?
Well, there's a couple different reasons why it's like that. I mean, originally Android started out with only free applications.
Right.
So that's kind of a little bit of history with Android.
Oh, that's true.
But then with iTunes and the iPhone, you need your iTunes account when you sign up with the iPhone. You put in your credit card information. It's all there. It's one click. You don't have to worry about it because it's all set up already. With Android, it's a little more difficult, and it's all about the payment process. And iTunes has an amazing payment process.
So once again, it's another instance where things on Android are not as well produced. All the little dots are not connected.
Right.
The Android market does not automatically have my credit card.
Right.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of friction in the payment system. And
I think, like for me, I already had my stuff entered into Google Checkout, so it worked smoother.
Oh, okay.
But I almost think that it was a conscious move on Google's part, because if you think about it, their main revenue stream has always been based around advertising. And whenever they open up a new market for apps, it's always been free with a delay and saying, we're going to allow paid apps later. But what it's done is forced people who want to monetize those apps into an advertising model. And one of the big winners right away from that was a little company you might have heard of called AdMob, which Google has just recently purchased.
Right.
So I think that as far as building money on the platform, I mean, yeah, they get 10%, I think, of every transaction that goes on there. But the barrier's lower. You don't have to have a Mac to develop for it. When I signed up, I don't even know anymore, but when I signed up, I only had to pay $25 for a developer key. as opposed to Apple charges $300, I think. So I mean, it's a lot easier for you to go out there, make an app, not charge for it, get money off of advertising, and cover your costs pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good points. Okay. Any thoughts on that, or?
Oh, for me, I think that I think that they made a good point with it's the Android market started out free.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, there are other app stores out there that are like the app catalog is also like they started out free for I think it was like 4 or 5 months before they even had one paid app, and I mean that was like a huge over-the-air update.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of the app store. For me, it's quality over quantity. So, 60% to 75% for me, 60% free to 75% paid, doesn't really mean much to me as long as the apps are good.
Yeah.
I would rather have less apps that are free that are better as opposed to, 40,000 fart apps, which,
Right.
Hey, they charge for some of those fart apps.
Yeah, they
They do. I know. And who pays for them? I want to know.
I did.
All right. No, I'm just kidding. I did pay
bought
for a
one
Three
of them.
Stooges app. I'll confess to that. So I do
That's
have,
all right.
I
You
do
can
have,
confess
I do have
to
a,
that.
a Stooge
That's
app
a
on
classic.
here. Had to do it. So, okay. So what about this assertion? I mean, so books, and there's another magical noise. Books have had huge success on the iPhone platform, clearly.
Yeah.
Or in the iTunes App Store. Which it has to be part of what's driving the fact, the mere existence of the iPad
Right.
and the iBook store. I think I got that right. iBooks, I think is what it's called. That was definitely, I think, inspired by all the success of ebooks.
Absolutely.
In the iPhone App Store. And I can tell you, they did not expect it. There was no category for books in the original version of the iPhone App Store. I know, because when we released, me and my partner released a bunch of books, there's
nothing to
we
put-
didn't
yeah,
know where
there's
to
no
put
category,
them. There was
right.
no category that really fit, so I can't remember where we put them, but we put them somewhere very odd, and then very quickly they made a books category. It was
Right.
swamping all the apps. So anyway, question is, I have not noticed a lot of books on the Android platform to date. Have I just missed them, or do you think there's something about Android that people don't want to do books on it? What's the deal there? Why has it succeeded so well on the iPhone and doesn't seem to be succeeding on Android?
Well, I don't know. I think that maybe it has to do with that paid versus free mentality. Less people are going to give away a book app, and they're going to charge more for it. And I think that it's going to mature a lot more the more of these e-readers come out that are based on Android, and there becomes an efficient market for these books. Whereas if you're reading it on a screen, I mean, I know you talked about how the iPad seems like a really great device for reading books, and the battery life is great on it, but it still strains your eyes when you have a backlit screen to read on. And devices like what is it that Barnes & Noble came out with?
The Nook.
The Nook.
Yeah, the Nook that runs Android. It has a color screen on the bottom so you can flip through its touchscreen, and then the top part of it is the e-ink. I think that once that market expands and it's not a niche market where Barnes & Noble is the only one making them, when more of those devices come out, there's gonna be a market for books on Android. It's just not there yet.
And I mean, there's nothing stopping the market from growing, because one thing that's great about Android is you can create your own market app. And so
Sure.
you could have a book market that's separate from the Android market. I mean, there's other markets that are out there that are...
Yeah, there's a slide one that they don't charge. Well, they have a payment system. Most of the stuff is free, though, and it's an alternative one. They have some other, kind of back alley ones that sell things that aren't allowed on the iPhone, let's say.
not even on the Android.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, not even on the Android market.
Yeah,
but
NSFW.
yeah,
But wait,
there you go.
yeah.
The NSFW store.
I want to stop you guys right there, because you've just said something really rather incredible, which actually hadn't occurred to me, and I don't know why it didn't, but this is the first time it thought in my brain. You can make your own market inside the Android market.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
As
Motorola's
an
doing
app.
so. In fact, too, they're going to be putting it on the phones that they're selling in China. Because of all the problems that Google's having with China. They're going to be developing alternative email apps, and the market was one of the first things that they announced.
That would be like making your own app store inside of iTunes App
It
Store.
would be like, I mean, not to
Without-
get
Or
all
a music store.
NSFW, but I mean, like if Vivid Video wanted to make their own
They could.
market
They certainly could.
as an app, they certainly could do that.
Yeah.
And look
with-
at her with the brand names.
Yeah, and without Apple
Look at me with
taking
the brands. I
30%.
know.
Yeah, without Apple taking 30% of each transaction.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and as we all know, porn and technology like this.
There you go.
do tend to
Driving
go together.
innovation.
They go together.
So, okay. So I guess, I just go back to one of the other things that you said. You thought that there was that the fact that there were free apps primarily on the Android precluded the books from selling, but 92% of the books on the iPhone are paid apps. So that would suggest that thesis is not correct.
Well, that's why I say the free mentality of Android is kind of a more hostile environment to charging for
paid.
books.
So basically, iTunes users are or iPhone users are a lot more trained to pay for things.
Well, and also
they're a lot
that
more comfortable.
Apple
with it.
users
think
in
that what he
general,
means-
I would say.
like one of the things he's also suggesting would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that authors, after pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into a book, don't want to give it away for free. They're going to want to go somewhere that's going to be a little bit more payment friendly, where people are more willing to pay for an app. And on the Android marketplace, obviously, 60% of the apps there are free.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's a little bit.
Actually, that's not totally correct. Being an author,
I know,
And
I was gonna
also,
say, because-
so there's something that a lot of authors that are unknown. Your problem is that you're not making money. Is that nobody knows you.
Nobody knows
So
who
at
you
least
are.
at first, actually, authors are very willing to give away their work. Like the first novel, even it's enough of a thrill that like a lot of people are reading it. A lot of people have done it on the Kindle. A lot of the Kindle bestsellers are actually free books
Right.
that people have put out there.
Just picked up,
Yeah.
right.
So and then people get book deals out of that afterwards. So.
Right.
And I think some of it has to do with iTunes or the iStore, the App Store. A lot of the stories that came out when it first launched were massive successes of the iFart application selling $1 million worth of
Right.
iFarts in the first week after Christmas.
So everyone's
and-
out to make their $1 million, basically.
Right.
Everybody wants
on
a hit.
iPhone.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a piece of that.
Well, the book industry isn't exactly known for embracing, new technology and new platforms, and I think the iPhone platform is a lot more proven than the Android platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it. I think that's enough for this week.
Okay. That works for me.
Yeah. I think we're over. I think we're about an hour and a half at this point. So
I know. We're turning to Jason. This is not
I know.
good.
Jason's starting to corrupt this. And
He's-
make it
yeah.
become- It's not a good thing.
It's a terrible disease. Well, I had fun.
I did too.
I had a great time. Thank you, Lane. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'm
And Dave.
looking at all my notes. And Dave
Thanks to Dave as well.
from the Lane and Dave from the Android App Show. Thank you, you guys. You guys were great, and thanks for all your insight.
Yeah, if we can do some plugging too, we're on the web at theappshow.com /Android, or you can go to theandroidappshow.com, and we're on Twitter at Android App Show and Android Tech Show.
Yep.
Very nice.
All over the place.
Cool. And then
Well,
we
thanks
shall
for having us on. Yeah.
Hey, thank you guys for being on. You guys
Yeah.
are great guests. Thank you so
Thank
Yeah,
much.
we love all the shows you've done so far, and we can't wait to see what the next ones are going to be like.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And I guess we should probably thank Marianne Cotter.
Yes,
being on the show
Marianne
as well.
Cotter, Smart Capsules Inc. The
Cooking Capsules is
developer
what-
of Cooking Capsules.
Yes.
So everyone should go head out to the Android market and pick that one up, because I'm really interested in that. I'm like, ooh, I gotta go. Get
Yeah, it's great. It's a really great app.
And
So-
and thank you for
thank you.
being so fabulous.
And Ashley, thank you so much for being on. You did a great job.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
you have to pronounce your last name because I know
Ashley Esqueda.
Esqueda.
Yeah.
Is that right? Esqueda? Okay. Ashley, great job.
Thank
And do you have a Twitter account?
I do have a Twitter account. It is at HeartlessJez, Jez. So I'm sure everyone's just like, what the
Yes. No.
Heartless
but,
Jezebel, is that what that's from?
It's the name Jezebel, so it's Heartless Jez. So
Nice.
I'm working on
Stage name.
I'm working on my website. It's heartlessjezebel.com, but there's nothing there. So that's my Twitter, Heartless Jez.
Okay. And I'm Mark Jeffrey, MarkJeffrey. And
R-E-Y.
R-E-Y. It's important.
That's important.
It is important. And there's only one of me. It's not Jeffries.
You don't want
It's
to find
Jeffrey.
some E-R-Y.
Yeah.
You don't want to find that guy.
No, not that guy. That's not me.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Well, that's it for This Week in Android. I'm Ashley Esqueda, and once again, my co-host, Mark Jeffrey, and the fabulous folks over at the Android App Show. Thank you, Lane and Dave. And that's it for us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.